My name is Valerie London. I am the author of the Ingredient Diet, and I've decided to do one or two short videos to accompany the book. There'll be other videos to come, but these are specifically part of the book, and this particular video is found at the end of chapter 1. And what I plan to do is just to discuss some of the concepts that are in the book and to sort of cement some of these ideas. Now, as you've probably noticed if you've read the first chapter, is the ingredient diet is not your typical fat loss, calorie reduction, point system, paleo program. So the ingredient diet is a historical consequence of food and dieting and the relationship to fat gain on the body. And the goal of the ingredient diet is help to stop people from gaining fat weight. Okay, what is fat weight? Because that's really the issue, is people want to go on a diet because they've gained too much fat. And the real problem is the body is making too much fat. And that's the question mark, right? Why is the body making all of this fat? And making fat even if people don't eat a lot of food. So it's not really related that people eat a ton of calories and gain a ton of weight. Sometimes people don't eat that much food and they still gain weight. Now, there are a lot of other issues. I mean, the aging process reduces hormones, and with that you have reduced enzyme activity. So that creates weight gain. But conceptually, when we think of the human body, what I call the organic body, which is the same body system that has been around since the beginning of mankind. So how the body digests food, how it delivers nutrients, how it produces a higher metabolism, how it improves circulation, all of these things, these concepts, have not changed since the beginning of mankind. What has changed is ingredient quality and food production. Those are the only two identifiable reasons why people produce more fat today than they ever have. In order to have a more in-depth conversation, it's really important to understand why food is produced the way it is. Now, that may sound like a simplistic thing, but really it's quite complicated. Food production and manufactured foods, foods that are overly processed or overly preserved or have longer shelf life, these foods are important. They really are important to the way that people structurally live across the United States. So this book, The Ingredient Diet, and the statistics in the book are specific to the United States. And the health statistics in the book have been provided by the World Health Organization. So the disease information is worldwide, all right? But specific to food regulations, I'm going to be talking about the United States. Now, this is a food label, all right? We're all pretty familiar with these, what they call nutritional facts labels. These labels came about, or the legislation for these labels came about around 1990. Now, this happens to be, in my opinion, the most significant output from the FDA. This piece of legislation actually helps people understand food quality, all right? At the same time, when we see a food label like this, it's actually a scary thing, all right? Food labels mean the food has been changed, okay? So we're no longer looking at one ingredient, because you're not going to see a food label on a chicken, and you're not going to see a food label on pork or cow or anything else. It's not going to be labeled on the chicken, all right, ridiculous as that may sound, because that is an actual pure food. It's an actual pure ingredient. So when you see nutritional facts, it has to do with the food being changed in some way. Either it's preserved, or it is a combination of ingredients that makes up what I call a recipe, all right? So anything that has, for the intents and purposes of the ingredient diet, anything that has a combination of ingredients, I call a recipe. Now, the history of the FDA has been around formally since 1820, all right? And from 1820 to the present day, so I'm making this video in 2017, approximately 200 years, the FDA, according to this, what they call significant dates in U.S. food and drug law history, have come out with about 80 laws, all right? So that's documented. It's on the FDA website. So they've produced in 200 years 80 laws. Now, they're not 80 laws related to food, because the FDA is Food Drug Administration, right? So the actual laws related to food production are about 10. So 10, 12, let's say 15 to be generous, all right? So there's about 15 of these approximately 80 laws that apply to food, okay? The rest, the other 65, 75, 80, yeah, the other 65 are related to drugs and medicines and cigarettes, all right? So that's probably enlightening to a few of you that in 200 years, the FDA has only produced around 10 regulations, important regulations, related to food production, all right? This is one of them. This came out in the 90s, this label legislation. And what's really interesting is in 2015, the retail and food services sales in the United States was $5.32 trillion. So for $5.2 trillion worth of food production, there's only 10 FDA regulations, right? So that's some of background and statistics. Now, how does this all apply to the ingredient diet? Now remember, I'm trying to help you lose fat weight. Not lose it so much, but stopping it from producing it, okay? So the problem, we have obesity statistics because people have gained too much fat weight. And there are nice graphs of the United States in the book that show, or pictures that show from CDC information how obesity has increased across the country. And they're very nice maps. So if you get a chance to look at the back of the book, they're in there. So let's go back to ingredients. All right, so this program is not about calorie counting, fat counting, going on paleo, drinking shakes all day long, all right, or anything like that, becoming vegetarian, vegan, all of these things. The ingredient diet is not about that, all right? And fundamentally, all of these programs that exist don't work to reduce statistical obesity, which is on the rise, okay? So statistical obesity has been on the rise for the last 60 years. modern diets do not directly impact the reduction of obesity. That's the truth, all right? Because if the numbers are increasing nationwide, then dieting does not affect those numbers. And dieting does not work because it's not consistent, all right? People think that when they go on a diet, it's just for a short span of time, they're going to lose 10, 20 pounds or whatever, and then they're going back to eating normally. Now the problem is when you go back to eating normally, that's when you gain all the weight back. Well, that's when you gain all the fat back, all right? Now, I'm going to draw a little diagram. This diagram is in the book. And I'm only going to show you this one diagram and then I'm going to stop the video. But this is a very important diagram. And I'm going to go into it for a little while, so it's not going to be that brief. So here we go. In the book, I refer to the way people eat in Western civilized cultures in metropolitan urban areas as something called clock eating. That means every few hours, people sit down to eat a meal, and we call those meals breakfast, lunch, dinner. And in between that, we have snacks and we have beverages, all right? So the likelihood of people eating an excessive amount of ingredients every day is high because these meals contain different recipes. And what are recipes? Recipes are combinations of ingredients, all right? And this is where everything becomes frighteningly interesting, all right? So let's go. So here we have a plate of food. It doesn't matter when in the clock eating cycle you eat this plate of food. Let's see if I can move. All right, here we go, our plate. All right, now, this is a plate of food, and it's broken down into several recipes. I don't know what you're going to be eating, but let's just say this is the dinner meal, okay? Dinner is the most complicated and highest level of ingredient meal that people eat. And that's because there are usually different recipes in this meal. And for the sake of this diagram, I'm just going to split it in four, all right? I'm just going to say that there are 4 recipes. And let's just use the hamburger and French fries meal, which I like because it's sort of simple and it's very mainstream America. So we got a burger, all right? And we have French fries, all right? And what else do we have? We might have a shake, all right? And if we're being super healthy, we'll have some sort of salad, all right? Now this is a plate of food or a meal, all right? Now, the problem is ingredients, remember that. So in this salad, you're going to have a lot of vegetables, and you're going to have salad dressing. Now, I am going to focus on this portion of the meal, the salad, right? Now, why is that? Because the salad is the simplest of all of these other recipes, right? Now, remember, a recipe is when the food is changed, when the natural food is changed by incorporating other ingredients. With a burger, you're going to have the bun, which has its own ingredients. You're going to have the actual patty. You're going to have the sauces, which is, mustard, ketchup, and all of those have ingredients. Mustard has its own ingredients. Tomato ketchup has its own ingredients. The bun has its own ingredients. The burger has its own ingredients. The shake, dairy product mostly, with additive, sugar, flavorings, whatever, okay? And the French fries will be potatoes, deeply fried. Now, in some situations, these fries will be dusted with some kind of fat, all right? Now, these are all ingredients. So if you added up all of these ingredients, I don't know how many ingredients there will be, but there'll be a lot of ingredients. Now, I'm just going to focus on the salad because I think the salad will give you an idea of how dangerous this meal is in regards to fat production, right? So we're going to remove some of this, and I'm going to talk about the salad. Now, this salad will have, my basic salad will have some tomatoes, okay, lettuce, very customary stuff, and it will have a salad dressing. Okay, what else shall we put in our salad? Let's put some avocado, right? Avocado. Okay, pretty simple salad, nothing too over the top. Now, why is this potentially dangerous, all right? Because of the way that we produce food, a lot of the foods that we eat come from different places, all right? So let's say this avocado comes from, I don't know, where would it come from? Let's say California. Let's make it a local one. California, all right? And these tomatoes come from Mexico, and this lettuce comes from, let's say, Idaho. I don't know if they make lettuce there, but I'm just guessing. And salad dressing. Now, salad dressing will have multiple ingredients, oils, vinegars, some sort of seasonings, and maybe dairy. You know, it might have multiple. So I'm just going to say this has got 4 times ingredients, all right? It will probably be a lot more. Now, why is this salad dangerous, all right? So in California, they use pesticides and fertilizers to make this avocado. They do. It's the truth. They do. So we've got California pesticides and fertilizers. In Mexico, we have Mexican fertilizers and pesticides. And in Idaho, they have their own fertilizers and pesticides for this lettuce. So let's just say it's fertilizers and pesticides. I'm just going to make it real simple and say there are 2 extra ingredients to this avocado. And two, they happen to be chemical ingredients. And God knows how many in the salad dressing. All right? I don't know how many things going to make up the oils and the vinegars and so forth. Now, remember our food label that we have here? Now, the problem with this food label, remember I said this was the most dangerous thing on a piece of food, is that all of those pesticides and fertilizers are not on here, all right? They're not on this label. It's not required to list what makes the ingredient. And what makes these ingredients is what's making us fat. All right? Now, why are these extra ingredients, plus the combination of ingredients, right? This is just one recipe. We've got 3 others to deal with on the plate. Now, why is this important? Because our digestion, remember, the organic digestion system, which has been around since the beginning of humankind, is the same. It hasn't changed. And it's very limited. It has limitations, all right? It can only produce X number of enzymes. It can only produce X number of hormones. It can only produce X number of platelets. It can only do, it's very, very limited. Even as intelligent as it is, the digestion process basically manages the entire body, because that's the system that delivers nutrients to the rest of the body. Now, if this limited enzyme system cannot break down all of these other ingredients, because it can't, because it is a limited system, and it must be able to match enzymes with the food, right? Otherwise the food won't get digested. And we only have a limited number of enzymes, right? So, and science being science has already matched up these enzymes with carbohydrates, fats, and sugars, and all of these. So science knows what enzymes break down certain foods. But what science doesn't know is what breaks down these fertilizers and pesticides. Because the body can't break them down unless it creates customized enzymes. So there's more in the book. I'm going to stop there, but I wanted you to understand why this food regulation system that we have is grossly inadequate, why diets don't work, and why eating meals in close succession, we eat 3 of these meals a day, most people do, plus snacks, plus beverages, and complicated beverages made with many, many chemicals, plus medications, all right? All of these things are what we ingest daily, 200 plus ingredients a day, more when there are celebrations, all right? So when you eat, the point of dieting, the point of weight loss, fat loss, is to actually have weight that goes away once and for all, doesn't come back, and the body stops making fat and stops making a dangerous form of fat, which I will talk about more in chapter 2. All right? So this is sort of a long video, but I wanted to include it as a part of this book. Now, the next video that I'm going to do is going to be in my kitchen, and I'm going to show you what secondary fat is. And I talk about secondary fat a lot in this book, and you'll get to see up close and personal what a good example of what it is. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the book. I just want to mention that there are 12 chapters in the book, and every chapter is very important. About the middle of the book, there is a diet program or a fat reduction program. But every chapter is very, very sort of step by step. And if you can complete the entire book, that will be in your best interest. I know as a dieter, and I'm a professional dieter, or I was before I wrote this book, is that I tend to skip all the forward and go straight to the diet and jump in, all right? If you can, stop yourself from doing that, it really is in your best interest to read all the chapters. So again, thank you very much for purchasing the book. I'm so glad that you were able to join me for this video, and I will see you in the kitchen. So that's the next one. Thank you.